Hello, welcome back to the Flicks Files. Anyone that's watched my previous videos will see that I've done parts of my collection in like bite-sized chunks, in that I've picked out movies from certain directors and gone through those rather than showing whole pieces of my film collection. So I thought it was time to do another one of those videos, and this time I'm going to focus on the director Stanley Kubrick. Now, Stanley Kubrick is possibly one of the most famous film directors that ever lived. And he didn't do many movies in his career, but certainly the ones he did are all highly regarded in one way or another. And I don't have all of his movies, but I have a good portion of them on 4K or Blu-ray. So I thought I would go through those now and just show you the ones that I have in my collection. So let's get started. Okay, so the first movie I have in my Stanley Kubrick Blu-ray collection is Passive Glory from 1957, starring Kirk Douglas. This is a notable film for a few things. It's the first movie that has the famous Kubrick tracking shots that he used a lot throughout his career, in the sequences where Kirk Douglas is walking through the trenches, surveying all these soldiers on the front line. They're the most famous sequences in this film. Some good battle scenes in this as well. And also, he met his wife Christiana on this movie. She appears right at the end of the film. And she sings to a group of soldiers in a bar at the end. Yeah, she looks really lovely in it as well. Very young. So, Passive Glory, that's my first one. The next one is Spartacus on 4K. Quite a few 4Ks in this collection, and suffice to say they all look absolutely amazing. This one in particular really does. It just looks absolutely superb. I think this is the only movie where Kubrick was a director for hire. The original director of this film was someone called Anthony Mann, and he directed the scenes right at the beginning of the movie where they're in like a mine, a quarry, should I say. And he got replaced by Kubrick. So Kubrick, filmed about 90% of this movie. And he was only 28 when he made this movie. It's amazing to think a film of this scope. And he was 28 years old when he helmed it. But after this, he demanded final cut with all of his films. And as I say, it was the first and only time he was a director for hire. So the next one is Dr. Strangelove from, this was either 62 or 63. Again, on 4K. Peter Sellers is brilliant in this. He plays 3 different roles, and he's the character that people think of. The actor that people think of when, you mention Dr. Strangelove. But I always thought that George C. Scott was really funny in this film, and doesn't quite get the recognition he deserves because he's overshadowed by Peter Sellers. Quite rightly so, some might say. But again, really lovely looking 4K. And Slim Pickens as the bomber commander as well. Absolutely hilarious. The next one is 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1968. Again, an amazing looking 4K. This one is widely touted as one of the best sort of demo discs for 4K. And I'd agree with it. It looks absolutely amazing. And a very nice box set. We get the disc, and then we have a selection of, I think these are like art cards. Various stills from the film. I'll quickly go through them. If anybody's watched my introductory video to this channel, they'll see that 2 of the movies in this collection are amongst my all-time top 15 favourites. And this is definitely one of them. It's just such an amazing film. I first saw this back in the 80s when I was a teenager and didn't quite understand it. Still don't really understand it, but I just absolutely adore it as a science fiction film. And yeah, there he is, the master himself. So that's 2001. And the next one is from 1971, A Clockwork Orange, again on 4K. Amazing looking film. I think it's worth saying at this point that Kubrick's longtime assistant, anybody that's watched any documentaries about Stanley Kubrick will know this, but he worked with an actor called Leon Vitali when he made Barry Lyndon in 1975. And Leon Vitali stayed with Kubrick as like a lifelong friend and personal assistant. And obviously, Kubrick passed away in 1999, and Leon Vitali looked after the DVD and future media releases, including the 4K transfers. He was the go-to guy to determine if, the transfers would have met Kubrick standards. And he did a fantastic job because all of these look absolutely beautiful. I first saw this back in the late 80s because it was banned in the UK for the longest time. And I had a friend that lived in London, and they had managed to procure a copy from France that had the English soundtrack on a video cassette, and he posted it to me. So that was the first time that I saw it. And yeah, it blew me away when I saw it. Fantastic film. The next one is the aforementioned Barry Lyndon from 1975. Really great film, Ryan O'Neal. This is probably Kubrick's longest movie. I think it clocks in at about 3 hours. And you would think it would drag, and it really doesn't. It's such a great film, many fantastic scenes. I think this is most noticeable for the scenes that were filmed via candlelight. Kubrick had some special wide-angle lenses that he used, so he could film with the aperture as wide open as he could possibly get it. Sequences where they were sat eating dinner by candlelight, and that was the only light source. So, it came out looking really, really beautiful. And yeah, it's a good film. I don't think this was, certainly at the time I got this, it wasn't available in the UK. So this is, I think it's a Italian or Spanish copy, one or the other. Yeah, because I wanted it on a physical media. Okay, the next one is another one of my favourite movies of all time, The Shining from 1980 with Jack Nicholson. What more can be said about this that hasn't already been said? Again, on 4K, an absolutely beautiful transfer. This is what was originally the extended American version, which is 144 minutes long. For the longest time, the only version I ever saw of this was the European version that had about 20 minutes missing. So it looks like the extended version is now the default version, and luckily that's the one they put out on the 4K. So yeah, that was a day one buy for me. And the next one is Full Metal Jacket from 1987. Again, lovely looking 4K. Arlie Ermy steals the show. Most people that think of this movie think of the first half of the movie, where they're at Paris Island, training in the Marine Corps. And interestingly, the day I've recorded this video, I actually watched this movie just the night before. It's just how it landed. And the second half of the movie, which is like the actual war part of the movie, is absolutely brilliant. And it's a shame that it got overshadowed by the first half of the movie. There's some fantastic sequences in it. I would say the sequence with the sniper, where there's a sniper in a building that they have to deal with, and the way that plays out is just absolutely superb. So yeah, I've always adored this movie. It came out around the time of Platoon. I think Platoon hit cinemas just before this, so it stole some of its thunder. I love Platoon as well. As Vietnam movies, they complement each other. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. They're both equal in my mind. Okay, and my last disc in Stanley Kubrick's collection is Eyes Wide Shut. I wasn't a massive fan of this movie when I first saw it when it came out in 1999, but it's like a fine wine. It gets better with age, and I watched it earlier this year and just fell in love with it. And I think I watched it again about a week afterwards because I couldn't stop thinking about it. Again, I don't think this has got a UK release, so this is another Blu-ray that I had to buy from abroad. I was very careful to make sure that I bought a European version as opposed to the American version, because the American version is censored. If anyone's interested in picking this up, make sure you get a version from like Spain or Italy, so it won't be censored. The orgy scenes in this, they put in digital people in the American release to reduce the nudity in certain scenes, and I hate censorship in any form, so I had to get the uncensored version. So this is freely available. I think you can still get it off Amazon for like £8 or something. It's not expensive. It's due a 4K release. I think there's one upcoming, so obviously when that comes out, I will upgrade it. But yeah, that's the version I have at the moment. So there we are. That's my Stanley Kubrick Blu-ray 4K collection. As I say, he's widely regarded as one of the best directors of all time, and certainly one of my favourites. And yeah, I'm really happy to have this as part of my collection. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.